Hi, and welcome to WoW Flash. This is my weekly news series where I look at all the news points on anything to do with Warcraft from the past 7 days. So just a few items this week. So first of all, obviously patch 7.1.5 has come out. Blizzard have done another live Q&A. Now, a lot of what they were talking about was to do with professions. Now, I'm going to do a much more detailed look at what they were saying and my own sort of commentary on that this weekend. But a couple of other things they talked about. Obviously, with the patch, we've had the Brawlers Guild, a new Brawlers Guild come out. I've not had a go at it myself. I was never that keen on the other one, but it is a great feature. I have no arguments about that. They talked a little bit about their sort of design strategies with it. They were thinking of maybe trying to put something in for healers, but they decided it was all about the fighting in the end. But, you know, it sort of got me thinking, well, actually, you know, some healer encounters might be interesting to watch as well. I remember it sort of brought into mind back in vanilla, in Molten Core from Major Domo, this penultimate boss, there was a quest item for hunters and priests, but the priest one, which got you the benediction staff, one of the parts of that quest line involved a healing scenario outside Strathome, you know, and it was taking place during the culling of Strathome. I don't know the details of it. I wasn't a priest, but I was there sort of watching it because the priest would want buffs, so I would go along as a paladin. We took a few others as well that could buff them, so we gave them their full buffs. I gave them blessings, and then we just watched them on it from a hill. But the thing is, we didn't see what they saw. All we saw was the priest running up and down, casting healing spells, but on no one, because we didn't see anything else. You'd occasionally hear or see the odd bit of text yelling from the NPCs that the priest could see, yelling about "Run, it's the Mad Prince," you know, with Arthas going around killing everyone. But we didn't actually see it ourselves. So it was a bit strange. It's like this demented priest healing no one. But that's scenarios like that actually might be quite interesting. You know, where like the culling of Strathome and things like that. So I think there are things they could do, but at the same time, I do understand what, you know, it's about the fighting and they want it to be more of an actual damage dealing focus, which, you know, fair enough. They did say there's no plans for any new Brawlers Guild bosses in Legion, but they're not ruling it out altogether. So I get the impression that basically just means, you know, if they had a really good idea, they might well go for it. There were a few boss ideas they had sort of based on other things, but, you know, they didn't work out. So, you know, it might be the same sort of thing. Maybe they'll revisit those ones, that's what they're talking about, or maybe it just means that if they just have a new good idea that they could go with that. In terms of Timewalking, we're getting the new Timewalking, Mists of Pandaria. That won't be the next Timewalking one, that's a Wrath one, I think. But it will be coming out early March. Now, they did talk, there's a couple of things they mentioned about Timewalking. One of them is that they may in the future, they didn't say when, they may in the future increase the item level of the items you get from Timewalking. I think that will definitely be due, because I think they have talked about increasing the item levels at some point, I think maybe 7.2, of stuff you even get in heroic dungeons and all the mythic dungeons going up, so that people ding in for the first time can get some easy gear and get on that pathway and keep those dungeons still relevant. But, so yeah, the same thing for Timewalking would make sense. The other thing is they were talking about vanilla, because the one thing that's missing, you'd think, well, why isn't there vanilla Timewalking? You know, pick 5 of the dungeons. There's loads of dungeons, pick 5 of them. Is it 5 with Timewalking? I think it's about 5. They did say that the dungeons from vanilla don't have enough of difficulty for level cap players, even when you sort of scale them up. So maybe they just couldn't think of 5 that would be suitable from that point of view, which is potentially fair enough. I haven't really sat and thought about it myself with some of the dungeons. I suppose some dungeons that might as well suffer from the problem that they tend to be quite large. A lot of people these days just want to get into dungeons, get them done quickly. So, yeah, some dungeons lend themselves to Timewalking better than others. And perhaps there are just not that many vanilla ones that do, if any. And then the final thing is to do with legendary upgrades. Now, this is sort of correcting something I've said before. So, what the situation is now with legendaries is when Nighthold comes out, if you get a legendary from when Nighthold is released, it will be 940 item level. We can when Nighthold comes out, we will be able to upgrade our own legendaries to 940, but it won't be as simple as going to a vendor and upgrading it. We'll have to do a quest. The quest we get from inside the blacksmiths. It's the elf guy in the blacksmiths. We have to go out and gather essences. I think it's 50 from memory, but don't quote me on that. But I mean, they could change it at the last minute anyway. But a number of essences we'll have to gather, and then we turn that in for a distilled Titan essence, and then we use that to upgrade our legendary. And it's repeatable, of course, so we can do it for as many legendaries as we've got. Where you get these essences from, there's 4 places. You can get them from Nighthold bosses on any difficulty. You can get them from your weekly Keystone, your Mythic Plus Keystone cache. You can get them from the Emissary caches, so do those every day. And finally, you can get them from the weekly PvP quests. I'm not sure how long it would take realistically if you were doing all those things to get enough for one legendary, let alone the 2 you might be using. What some people have been thinking of doing is saving up their emissary caches and going, I'm going to save them up and open them when Nighthold comes out. Being clever, you see, so that if I get a legendary, it'll automatically be 940. Unfortunately, Blizzard have said, no, it won't. If you got the cache before Nighthold came out, even if there's a legendary in it, it'll be 910. So don't bother saving it up for that. It won't work. Only legendaries that you actually get and the sources from them you've done after Nighthold comes out will be automatically 940. I just got a legendary this week. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's good because it's a good legendary, but it's potentially bad because if it had waited another few days or at least a week, then it might have been automatically 940. Whatever. But again, I don't know. It might not take that long to get it up. Assuming you actually have a guild to do the Nighthold raid bosses, and especially if you can do them on normal in heroic on the week it comes out on normal in heroic, that'll be easier for some than others, because obviously LFR won't be coming out for another week after that, and then staggered by 2 weeks for each wing. Weekly mythic cache, well, that's only once a week. I don't know how many it's going to give you. Emissary bags, 1 a day. Again, I don't know how many. PvP weekly quests, I don't know about that. I don't do PvP. Don't know. And that's pretty much it. So, as I say, they did talk a lot about professions in that Q&A. So I'm going to do a What Blizzard Said video on talking about, what they said about professions, my own commentary on that. I'm going to bring that out sometime this weekend. So anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.